Hello beautiful people, it's your girl Prettychoice and you're welcome to my channel. How are you all doing? I hope you all are doing well. So guys, in today's video we're going to be talking about white people don't have black friends versus black people don't have black friends. So guys, a lot have been going on, like, when it comes to like make friends, it's not really easy, like especially in Europe country. Maybe in another country it's easy. I know in Africa it's really easy to make friends. So here in Europe country like Germany, they're so cold, so it's really hard to make white friends, like to make friends with white people. And sometimes when you ask them like, can we be friends, they'll be like, nah, something like this. So I would say I don't really have few friends, and most people don't really like to have friends, like they just like to be like one man squad and something like this. So I would say I don't really have friends. I started making friends recently, like just few. So I really like to, especially when you try to make friends, if your mind doesn't go with the person, it's not gonna work. It's like you have to connect with this person before making friends. Like you have to connect, this kind of thing. So guys, I came across this video and I decided to share with you. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, drop your comment down below. Let me know what you think about this video. Without further review, I will see you all in my next one. Bye.
On giving and in all the wrong ways. Okay, I've had to block so many people, delete so many comments, and literally, the only thing I did was shared the comment of a mutual, and it was an observation. That observation was statistically backed up by data that says white people in large do not have a black friend and yet have some very strong opinions. So the question in that we have to deal with as white people is, how is it we have so many strong opinions about racism, the impact of race on black people, the history of racism in this country, the current day impacts of any number of things on black people? Like, how is it we have so many strong opinions as white folks when statistically speaking, we don't have any black friends? It's a fair point in question. And if anybody who is, thinking like, hey, I want to be an intellectually honest person of integrity, and then they realize like, oh shoot, I really don't have any black friends, but whoa, yeah, I do have some strong opinions about black people's business. Like, why is that? And maybe I should sit down and maybe I should think about it. Maybe I should reflect. Maybe I should dig into why it is I feel entitled to have opinions about things that have nothing to do with me. And this is the funny thing, because people understand this concept. So I use this analogy a lot because I had cancer. And when I was diagnosed with cancer, I wanted to know from oncologists, experts, people who'd experienced cancer, like what did you do to heal? How did you get healing? I didn't go to my 8-year-old and say like, hey, what do you think I should do? I didn't go to the guy working at the gas station who's never had cancer and doesn't know anything about cancer to say, hey, what should I do? I really value your perspective on how I should treat my body for cancer, right? Like, we can all understand that. But the minute you start telling us white people that we need to sit down and be quiet and maybe not act like an expert on something we have no lived embodied experience with, like, watch out. People coming out of the woodworks. Okay, and that doesn't even get into this comment here. This says, okay, how many white friends do the black folks have? Every race segregates themselves. It's not done intentionally or out of malice. And I think a lot of us white folks believe this and feel this way and live in vacuums. And because we don't have friends of other backgrounds, races, ethnicities, like, we can just be like, oh, this is just our little bubble, whatever. But there is a history of segregation and violence and redlining and racism, and did I say violence against black people, indigenous people, and other people of color that led us into this place where today the vast majority of white Americans do not have friends who are black. And it doesn't work the other way for the people who are going to be like, hey, the vice versa. No, not vice versa. Watch another video that I posted on that, please. And yes, I know I'm white and, all right, this is a comment for the nope file. Okay, I'm going to create that. But what I'm also going to do is, instead of focusing on the commenter, we're going to focus back on the point of the conversation. And the point of the conversation has to do with the history of the United States, the history of the country as a whole, There are a lot of people in my comment section go, but I have a black friend, but I have a black partner, but I have a black child, right? Like, you're missing the point. The point is that in the United States, as a result of our history of anti-black, white supremacist ideology and violence, because of our history of racism, because of our history of redlining, Jim Crow, segregation, racial terrorism, all of those things, we live in a way that is very segregated. Now, again, that doesn't mean that black people don't have white friends, that white people don't have black friends, that people aren't married, partnered, raising children, giving birth to children, any of those things, right? We're talking about a broader conversation here. And the fact is, statistically speaking, 75% of white Americans do not have a black friend. This is an us problem. This is a white people problem. This nation was built on white supremacist ideology and delusion problem. And that's what we're going to talk about. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm going to continue talking about. The goal here on my page is to identify and address systemic problems and talk about ways in which we can deconstruct and dismantle them.
As a non-black person, you don't have black friends unless they talk about you to their friends.
All the points in this video are really good, but this one in particular comes up with other white people a lot. Because while there are black people who I consider friends, I would not necessarily say I have black friends. Part of this is because the definition of a friend is someone with whom you share a mutual bond. And I don't think this is fair for me to assume or to expect from people with whom I will not share certain lived experiences, but also because of the inherent power imbalance that means my side of the relationship is always safer. The other reason is that a lot of the time when white people say I have black friends, what they actually mean is something closer to I impose myself on black people in spaces they are forced to share with me. And the interactions they have aren't what they would consider friendship from white people, or that the other person would even consider.
I'm sorry, but if you've made it to the age where you are old enough to be on this app and you don't have a black friend yet, I think that pretty much speaks for itself. We're around, so it's not everyone else.
So please go back and follow this comment and you'll understand what we're talking about. But it is interesting that it's a lot of the same folks who are, oh, well, you know, I got a black friend, but they don't realize that they have a black friend that's code switching around them because they don't even know what code switching is. There are some of us who will just be friendly or friends with white people in order to save face in the workplace or to keep peace around us. It's another way that we code switch. It's so that we'll be nice, we'll be cordial, we'll be friendly around you, just so that you're comfortable around us, so that we won't feel uncomfortable around you. So please go back and follow this comment and you'll understand what we're talking about.
I've never met a me that I didn't have to explain what code switching was. Actually, just a few nights ago, a friend of mine and I were sitting together at a tailgate party that my son's school was throwing. And she made a comment. She said, because I was with my co-parent as well, she said, you know, if my son's dad was here, he'd have made a couple plates. And I said, oh, if, you know, my co-parent had been comfortable, he would have made a full plate, but he only grabbed a burger. I had to explain why. I had to explain why he was introducing himself to everybody, why he only grabbed one hamburger, why he sat the way he sat and stood the way he stood, why he grabbed the drink the way he grabbed the drink. Because he's trying to be non-threatening. That's why. Because anytime anybody sees him, they think something bad's going to happen.
You can be friends with white people and not talk politics as a black person. Because I feel like especially when it comes to discussing black issues or issues that affect you as a black person, you need to understand what the people closest to you believe about that. If you ignore the topic entirely, it's just a disingenuous friendship because you don't know what they really think about that. I don't think you can be friends with white people.
As a retired suburban black girly slash retired token negress, I definitely have some thoughts on this. For one, the initial video was actually inspired by a tweet by one of my mutuals. Her name is Nia. She's actually head of the Hoochie. Well, she's been a lot of things. TikTok just won't let her be great, but she gives great commentary, so you should definitely go follow her. Anyway, I grew up in the suburbs of northern Chicago, late 90s, early 2000s, and historically had always been one of the only black people, or especially black girls, in all of my classes. Never saw myself at school, never saw myself on TV, never saw myself out in the streets in the neighborhood that I lived in. And my parents actually stopped taking us to the black church that we had attended for the first 10 years of my life because it was just too far and they preferred to go to church locally. So now, not only am I not seeing myself in my day-to-day experience, but there also are no extracurriculars that are going to solidify my identity as a black person. Now, at the time, I didn't think too much of the fact that all of my friends were white. I don't think my parents thought too much of it because, again, it was just us. But eventually they started getting concerned when I started exhibiting some weird behavior. What kind of weird behavior, might you ask? I started getting very visibly uncomfortable being around other black people. I got very into my role of being one of the good ones, if you know what I mean. I had been so brainwashed by my white peers to believe that other black people were ghetto and that they were stupid and that they were unambitious and not trustworthy, dangerous, all that stuff. And when I tell you the indoctrination from the suburbs is real, listen, it is alive and well. And it wasn't until I got into high school and I joined a bunch of extracurriculars that were run and actively participated in by other black people from all sorts of different backgrounds. Someone had to tell me about myself. And it forced me to take a really good look at my life and ask myself some real questions. Why are you uncomfortable around other people who look like you? Why are you more comfortable being around people who literally make snarky, microaggressive comments or blatantly racist comments in your presence all the time? Why would you prefer to be aligned with them? Why the fuck would you even look at these people as the safer option as far as company? Like, what? Because listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter how hard you try to separate yourself from blackness as a result of growing up in spaces where you didn't see yourself. At the end of the day, you might not see yourself as one of those, but they still do. You can try all you want to separate yourself from your blackness, but baby, at the end of the day, this is a club that you have a lifetime subscription to, and they'll never be able to relate. So y'all can play that stupid ass game if you want to, but when you need us, know that we're not going to be there because you were being fucking weird.
So I wanted to do another take on this girl's such video because my family's Ghanaian and I was born and raised in America, and I feel like I always had like the most difficult time in my skin growing up. And I say this because a lot of the time, a lot of like Black Americans would always tell me that I was too white and I didn't act Black. And I struggled with my skin tone and if I actually was a Black person because of what I was told. Most of my childhood friends are Black. It was more of when I started going to school where a lot of my friends tend to be not Black because of my surroundings, which has never been a problem for me. It was more of like, am I really like a Black person because I don't hang out with Black people?
I wanted to say this from my personal experience of someone who legit did not get friends till they were 13 years old. Keep your Black friends because they're going to listen. When I got those friends when I was 13, they were all Black, right? All Black. I still talk to them to this day, and I am a senior in high school. We still do stuff. We still have fun. We still go out with each other. We still talk on a day-to-day basis, and maybe it does attribute to the fact that we all go to the same high school. But still, when it comes to the relationships that I've had with white people or just not Black people, in the past 17 years of my life, they've never really gone well. Like, most recently, an old white friend of mine tried to lie on me, say I committed a sex crime. It's horrible. Like, it's always something. And truly, I don't know how to feel about that.
Okay, so
That's my mutual. Everybody go follow him. But that is also my tweet that he's using in his video. And I made that tweet like a couple days ago, and it ruffled some people's feathers. I don't really give a damn, but I don't mind explaining it to y'all. So I feel like, obviously, if you grew up in an area where there just basically wasn't any black people but you and your family, and you only grew up around white people, obviously, like, you get a pass. But if you're the type of black person who actively seeks out friendships with non-black people and refuses to be friends with any black people, yeah, you're strange. And it gives self-hatred to me. And I don't see how anybody does not find it strange. You want to hang out with them, but not us. I don't know. But, you know, that's just how I feel about it. And why would you give a damn how I feel about it? I am nobody, just your Lord and Savior, the Hoochie God. You don't have to listen to me.